Sponsorship is a very important part of the Narcotics Anonymous program. It's the heart of the program. I think probably the key thing that sponsorship is a guide through the 12 steps, somebody that can teach you how to find your answers with the steps. In that regard, probably somebody that's worked the steps is key and critical, but somebody that's looking for a sponsor, probably the key factor is going to be trust and confidentiality, and that it's somebody that you feel safe to open up and share all of those deep, dark secrets with. And if you don't have that faith and trust in the person, it makes it really hard to really get in and work the steps and internalize the process. The current sponsor that I have today is actually my third sponsor. My first sponsor I picked was somebody with 30 days clean, and probably didn't pick them for a lot of the reasons that I needed to, and in that regard wasn't very helpful. My second sponsor was somebody that had a limited amount of clean time, but I was able to bridge some of the differences, the uniqueness that I felt, because this man's name was Sam, came from very different background than I did. He used a lot differently. He, had a different lifestyle. He had a family, career, job, and being able to find the common thread on the emotional and spiritual level really made the connection with my disease and with being able to work the program really important. The sponsor that I have today, I'd actually met as part of being able to doing service in Narcotics Anonymous. He was someone that lived in another state, but I'd interacted with him in a service environment and got to know him, and it was funny. We had kind of more things not in common than we did in common, and when I found myself needing to ask somebody to sponsor me, and I looked at a lot of the things that he had done in the program and where he was at with the steps and how he was able to work with other people, and really took his inventory, both the positive and negative, and found this is a man with something that I want. And so I asked him to be my sponsor about 19 years ago. And one of the things that was difficult in the process was I thought that we should instantly be friends and be instant connection. And it took a little while of getting to know each other, that even though I knew him in service and I knew him in somewhat of a personal relationship, the sponsor relationship took a little while to really get past a lot of the barriers that I had, and to get to that level of trust and intimacy that's required to be able to really put your life in somebody else's hands. And what I expect out of a relationship with a sponsor is honesty. That I selected somebody to help me with the steps and help keep me working my program, and so in a lot of cases that involves him telling me the truth, not necessarily what's convenient or easy or that I want to hear on any given time. That when I'm kind of off track, I need to hear about it. When I'm full of shit, I need to hear about it. When I'm kind of rationalizing and in denial about my program, I need to hear about it. So the honesty and truth is what's really important in that relationship. At the end of the day, we learned 90% of what we need to know to stay clean in our first 30 days of recovery, and that is like, don't pick up, go to meetings, read your book, call your sponsor, work your steps. And a lot of these things, we can make a list of the basics of of working a program. And a lot of what we then do is go do the work that we need to do, internalize the process, but the mechanics of staying clean doesn't change that much. Part of what is important with the sponsor is the accountability and the ability to, because we're not very good judges of ourselves, is that kind of living in my own head, I can justify the most outrageous kind of stuff, particularly about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and wake up and start like scheming and hatching plans and trying to make decisions about how to live my life. And often those times, or when I'm under stress or when I'm under pressure, often those decisions are not necessarily fully thought out. It's not that I'm not sitting there thinking and thinking and thinking about them, but we are our worst critics and our most unbiased admirers. And in that regard, being able to get a perspective if I'm being too hard on myself, or if I'm being narrow-minded in how I'm looking at what I need to do, and my sponsor can help me. Not necessarily just tell me what I need to be doing, but help me, ask me the right questions to make sure that I'm considering all of my choices and the consequences, because often we don't think out all the prices that we have to pay for our decisions. Ultimately, my sponsor doesn't make decisions for me. I get to live with the consequences, so he lets me make the decisions. In the end, my sponsor has been a good sounding board, make sure that I'm not in denial and delusion and off track, and make sure that I'm asking myself all the questions before I make choices and take that ride. What do I expect to contribute to the relationship with my sponsor? Well, and it's a very interesting question, because we talk about how sponsorship is a two-way street in Narcotics Anonymous, is that it helps both the person that's sponsoring and the person that's being sponsored, and is when I talk to people that ask me to sponsor them, the first thing I tell them is that let's sit down and talk about it. And so what I do is I ask them to tell me what they expect out of a sponsor and what they're looking for, and then I tell them what I expect out of somebody that I sponsor. And part of what I expect is, that they'll tell me the truth, and I generally will tell them. If they feel like they need to lie, hide, cover up, then they need to find somebody that they trust enough to be able to tell everything to. Is some of that trust takes a little bit of time, but at the end of the day, I need to find somebody that I can give everything to without holding it back. And so what do I expect to contribute to my relationship with the sponsor? It's my job to initiate, because when I first ask somebody to sponsor me, I'm asking them for help, and it's not like they're getting paid to help me. I need to ask for the help. So it's on me to make the phone call and talk to them about, what I'm up to, what my thoughts, motives, reactions, actions, behaviors, and what's going on in my life. It's up to me to talk to them about where I'm at with my step and what help I need with it, what questions I have, what challenges I have with working on any particular step. It's up to me to make that phone call, and it's not up to them to chase me down. At the end of the day, Narcotics Anonymous, there's no requirement for membership, and there's no at the same time, there's also no guarantee of membership. You know, it's voluntary based on what I put into it. And often we'll see people with minimal participation only going to a couple of meetings and not really calling their sponsor and not really working steps and not really doing those things. And that's their loss and not the program. The program goes on perfectly well whether I'm here or not, or whether any individual is here or not. What's really the only really limitation of how far that we can go in working a program is the ones that we place on ourselves. That through first through this relationship with sponsorship, I've learned how to be open, honest, and talk about my fears, expectations, judgments, and all of those things. And the basis of doing that has opened up a lot of my other relationships, you know, not only with my family, but also with, you know, with my romantic relationships and relationships with friends. You know, so that sponsorship relationship really is the key to beginning to learn how to interact with people in the world in the way that we didn't learn on the streets when we were using.